Welcome to the Datamart user training on the Mitel Connect client. First, I'd like to talk about the positioning of the Connect client and how best to use the software. Note that it does not dock like the former communicator software and should ideally be positioned on the left-hand side of the desktop. This is because the software will open to the right, and this will allow us to see all the necessary windows as we operate the software. First, I'd like to talk about the quick dialer feature, which we can access by clicking in the space where it says name or number. This allows us to search by first or last name or by phone number through the entire phone system directory and also your Outlook contacts if you've chosen to import your Outlook contacts. For example, if I type in David, I can access all the Davids within my Outlook contacts. And for example, I can click on David Whitty and see his contact information on the right. I can X out of that contact information by clicking the Minimize tab here. Note that for users within the phone system, such as Sue Robinson, I can also see a presence indicator shown by the green check mark. If I then click on Sue's user, I can see her contact information where presence is also available right here. If Sue were on the phone or in a meeting, this would be indicated right here. Note that within Sue's contact, there are several tabs here which show different information. The Info tab will show the extension and any other phone numbers that are available for the contact. I can click on the phone number to call or extension number, or I can click on the email address to open a new email. Under the Messages tab, this will show any instant messaging that's going on between Sue and myself. We currently have IM disabled, so there's nothing here. Under Calls, this is a feature that shows individual call history between Sue and myself. I can click on any one of these individual calls and see more call details, or even enter in a call note for future use. The Voicemails tab will show any voicemails that are ongoing between Sue and myself. Next, I'm going to X out of Sue's contact. The quick dialer is very useful for quickly looking up phone numbers and quickly placing calls or opening a new email. Saving time is the primary function of this quick dialer feature. To X out of this, click the X right here and return to the regular view. Next feature that I'd like to discuss is the phone assignment feature, which is accessed by clicking on your name right here. And clicking on your name, this brings up this section which shows my primary assignment, which right now is on my desk phone. If I'd like to switch to soft phone, which I'll do now, I simply click the soft phone radio button and then make sure I've selected the correct USB headset that I'm currently using. This will turn my PC or Mac into my IP phone, where I can then make and take calls. Note that I also have an option for external assignment. Clicking this will assign my phone to my cell phone, where the voicemail will be pulled back into the phone system and not left on my cell phone. This can be useful when working out of the office. Of course, we can also use the mobility client if we're set up to do that, as another option for remote use. I'll X out of this now that I've chosen softphone. Next, I'd like to discuss the ability to change my call handling mode or availability state, which is done by clicking on the word available and opening up the drop-down menu there. I can manually choose whichever state I'd like to move into, and this will be reflected in the software and on the IP phone. I can also log out of the software if I need to sign in as another user or a scenario along those lines. Note that my availability state can also be controlled by my Outlook calendar if I have the Outlook calendar integration turned on. To see if I have that integration turned on, that requires going into the settings section. I can do that by clicking on the word connect and then clicking on settings. I can then check my Outlook settings and choose whether or not I'd like to have calendar synchronization by checking off this box. I can also use Outlook work hours to switch my availability state to out of office anytime I'm outside of my predefined Outlook work hours. Again, this is a manual choice by the user, and it can be enabled or disabled. The same can be said for the contacts integration section here, which is a checkbox as well. I'll X out of this section. The next section that I'd like to talk about is contacts. Contacts allows you to build contact groups manually to keep an eye on different coworkers and glance at the screen and see if they're on the phone or out of the office by the presence information shown here. This can also be used to click to dial or to click to create a group IM session. For example, if I click on the sales group here, I can start a chat with the sales group if that's enabled, schedule a meeting, or send a voicemail to the group. Again, contact groups are set up manually by the end user and are designed to allow quick access to presence information and access to group IM features, as well as click to dialing. Next, I'm going to close out of this section and talk about the recent section. So if I click on the word recent, this will bring up my entire call history of inbound, outbound, and transferred calls over time. I can scroll back in time to look at calls. And this will go back at least 1,000 phone calls. Note that I can also sort calls by all or missed. And then I have the ability to place a call back to anybody simply by clicking on the phone number. Another nice feature is that I can search through the recent history by typing here. This makes it very easy to look back in time and find any specific phone call that I'd like to look at. If I want to look at even more call details, if I click on the phone call here, it will then open the contact page for that individual contact, where I can look at all the calls specific to that one person. From this screen, in this section, I can then look at the specific call details, and again enter a call note that I can refer to later. Next, I'll X out of Connor's contact, and I'll X out of the history section. Next, I'd like to talk about the voicemail section here. This allows me to access all my voicemails and sort by all unheard or saved messages. To listen to a voicemail, simply click on the message, and that will bring up a player here where I can see how long the message is, and I can also skip halfway or 3/4 of the way through the message if I just want to access the phone number. Note that I can choose to play the message through my computer speaker or through my desk phone. Also, when I click on a message, that opens up the contact page for that individual. I'm going to X that out and X out the voicemail section here. The next section is events, and this is if you use the Mitel Conference Bridge application. That is a topic for another training session, so we'll skip that for now. The last tab is workgroups, which is also a topic for another training session, so we will skip this, although note that this is where we access all the Mitel workgroup information if that is part of what we do. Lastly, I'd like to discuss how to manage phone calls using the Mitel Connect software. I'll click on the contact section again, and I'm going to click on Connor's extension to place a phone call to Connor. Now I have a call into Connor, and he has picked up the phone. Note that the call is represented by this rectangular area here on the left-hand side of the Connect client. The call controls are within the call window, but additional call controls are shown up here on the actual contact that I am speaking with, which in this case is Connor Bailey. If I minimize the contact here, I still have the call window here on the left-hand side of the software. If I had more than one phone call, this would stack up here with multiple rectangles showing individual calls. Note that I can see how long the call has been going and also see that the call is active. If I place it on hold, it'll let me know that the call is on hold and also let me know how long the call has been on hold. I can also hang up the call right from here. Let's say I'd like to take the call off hold and then perform a transfer. Step one will be to press the unhold button here, which also brings up the additional call control options on the right-hand side. This allows me to see options for point-to-point video, call recording if that is enabled, add participant or conference, transfer, and move the call to my cell phone. Additional options are shown here, which is send the call to the voicemail or send the call to the company auto attendant, or even flag the call as a malicious call to report to the carrier later. Let's say I'd like to perform a transfer. Step one is clicking the transfer button here. Note that it now brings up a new quick dialer window with full access to all my Outlook contacts, if that is enabled, and all the people within the phone system as well, with presence information also. Down below, the system will prompt me for one of my most recent contacts, which are the most popular choices as you use the system. For example, Chip, Jay, and Keith are commonly used transfer recipients from my phone calls. I can also see that the three of them are not on the phone, shown by this green check mark. Let's say I'd like to send the call to David Whitty, who we looked at earlier. All I have to do is type in David, and then the system will start searching. I type in WHI, and it has found him right here. I then select his name. And now I have a choice of transfer that I can choose here. This is a blind transfer, and this will do a consult transfer, which is most common, where it places Connor on hold, and then I'm speaking with David and asking if he'd like to take my call. And the system will prompt a yes or cancel option to either complete it or cancel it if I was not able to reach David or if he said that he was not able to take my transfer. For now, I'm going to cancel this transfer by clicking on the X here. Conference works exactly the same way. If I click Add Participant, it prompts me with one of my most recent contacts down below, and also gives me the same quick dialer window here to search all my Outlook contacts and search everyone in the phone system, and then choose either a blind conference or a consult conference. I'll X this out as well. So controlling the call from the Connect client is very easy and also very similar to the use in the previous communicator software. Right now I'm using SoftPhone, but I could also control the call on my desk phone using the same software. This allows me to never touch my phone as I progress throughout the day and keep my attention on my computer screen where I perform other tasks and other applications. Next, I'm going to close out Connor's contact and the call control buttons here, and then hang up the call as well. So this should give you a good overview of how to use the Mitel Connect client to manage your calls, use the quick dialer to quickly call or email people, control my availability state, look at contacts within the company, look at my recent call history, look at voicemails, and also look at my events and workgroup information. Thank you for watching this Datamart user training session, and have a great day.